And welcome back to Inside Hoopsteria as we are talking more about round two. We got 4 games set to take place today. We're going to be talking about each game and what you can expect out of each of those games. And so let's go ahead. Let's jump into the bracket and let's start with the East region. And so we got Maryland versus Villanova. And as you can see, number 7, Maryland, number 2, Villanova. And so look, out of the 4 games that are going to take place today, I think that this might be one of the most anticipated games, if not the most anticipated game, just because of all the scoring that you're going to get from the 2 stars in this game. And so let's start with Maryland and just what to look for from them. And so Maryland, it all starts with CKC. So Cooper Kenji Cross is everything for Maryland. And so if you've not got a chance to watch him play, he's just spectacular on the offensive end. And he was really spectacular against Dayton in their first round matchup. He had 38 points. He had 2 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and a block. He was everything that Maryland needed. And he was 16 of 25 from the field, 3 of 8 from deep, and 3 of 4 from the free throw line. And so just putting up 3-point shots. He got to the free throw line. Again, he was just really giving Dayton fits here. And so I think that the first real question here for Maryland is what are the others going to do? So everybody else on the team is going to have to step up. I think that this is not any secret. This has really been, I think, the biggest question around Maryland is who else is going to step up, because AC Day, he gave Maryland 12 points. Keith Anthony gave them 14 rebounds. And so they got contributions from other players in different departments in the game. But, they're really going to have a huge effort if they're going to take down Villanova. And so the questions that I have about Maryland is they only shot 35.3% from downtown in round 1. And I'm not sure that that's going to be enough against Villanova, because Villanova can certainly light it up from deep. And then next, this is another thing that worries me about Maryland. They lost the turnover battle in round 1. And so 10 total turnovers. And I don't think that is going to be a recipe for success against Villanova. And so they cannot lose the turnover battle. And then lastly, another thing that just worries me here with Maryland is that Dayton they didn't have any blocks. And I think that Villanova is certainly going to give Maryland a lot more fits once they come to the rim today. And so I think that could maybe shrink the floor for Maryland today. We'll see how their offense adapts, but expect for Villanova to give them a lot more resistance at the rim. And one more extra point here. They only made it to the line 8 times. And I think that if Maryland is going to win this game against Villanova and really upset them, they're going to have to get to the free throw line. And CKC had 4 of those 8 free throw attempts that they had as a team. So they've got to get their board. So next, as we shift focus and we look at Villanova, and so everything starts with Justin Bell. I think that Justin Bell was fantastic for Villanova down the stretch in a game in which really they got gut punched by Tennessee. And so the fact that they were able to come back, I mean, many people were thinking that Villanova was not going to make it out of round 1, but you got to give Justin Bell and these guys a lot of credit for showing up like champions there at the end of the game and putting away Tennessee. And so 67-65, they won. 32-35 was their split. So they got better in the second half. And so I'm always a fan of a team that finishes better, because it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So I'll give them credit there. And so Justin Bell, 24 points, 10 of 18. I loved his efficiency. He's going to have to keep that up if Villanova is going to go ahead and advance. But unlike Maryland, Villanova has a very good team here. So I got to give a lot of credit there to Lovejoy, Lipman, Noah Jackson. They all were in double figures. And I think that supporting cast is going to come to the party here against Maryland. And so that's why I'm starting to really lean towards them and favoring them moving on. But again, anything can happen in Hoopsteria. We saw that. And next, I think for them, I just talked them up about the block shots. They only had 1 block shot against Tennessee. And so give Tennessee, a lot of credit for just taking it to the body of a lot of the Villanova defenders and just taking away, their ability to block shots and things like that. I'm not sure that Maryland's going to be able to do so, but I think that that's going to be a key stat for Villanova tonight, is they're going to have to get some more block shots. And lastly, for them, Trey Turner, okay, he scored 24 points, 10 of 18 from the field. He was 4 of 8 from deep. Round one, Tennessee almost got that win. CKC is a different type of player, and I promise you, he's going to put tons and tons more pressure on Villanova defensively. And so that is one thing that Villanova has to be aware of. If Trey Turner, respectively, he gave them everything that they could handle, I think you're going to get more with CKC. So I hope they are ready, because if not, Villanova will be going home. And so that is the things to watch for in game one. And so next, we're going to go ahead and jump back into the bracket as we got game two, and it's going to be Oregon versus Arizona. I think that this is another one of those games that is certainly going to be interesting. I think that the paths that both of these teams have taken to get to this point has been interesting, but definitely this is going to be another one of those games that just you don't want to miss. And so you got number 10 Arizona versus number 15 Oregon. And so let's go ahead and let's start with Oregon, because they barely escaped that first round. They won 61-59. And so they were able to get out of that first round, and they're here now. And I think for them, it's going to really start with Payson Corbin. I think that he's going to have to continue to play well. He played well in that first round. He had 15 points, 3 assists, and 13 rebounds. So giving them the double-double is exactly what they needed. And then you have got to give Jetson Holiday the third a lot of credit as well. 12 points. He also had 2 steals in that game as well. And so they needed everything that they got from him. And so those players are going to have to show up today if they're going to beat Arizona. And I think the next thing for them, and just really where you start to mark down concerns, 45% from deep. Can they continue to knock down the 3 ball like that against Arizona? I think that that's something that I'm not necessarily betting on Oregon to do so. And so that's why I'm a little shaky with them moving forward. Now, depending on how they come out, if they're hot from deep, they can really give Arizona a lot of trouble there. And then next, I wonder how good their defense is, okay? Because I got to give Oregon a ton of credit for what they did to Jamison Johnson. If you have not got a chance to see him, he is expected to be a top pick in the SWBA draft coming up here. But they held him to 11 points and 9 rebounds. More importantly, an impressive 5 of 15. Well, not impressive for him, but it's impressive for Oregon that they held him to 5 of 15. And so I got to give Oregon in that defense a ton of credit. I think a lot of people are saying that, hey, was it more on Jamison Johnson? I got to give Oregon some credit defensively. I think that they gave him some different looks. The physicality was there, and it certainly threw Jamison Johnson off. And so that defense, I want to find out if it's for real, because they're certainly going to be tested there. And next, look, I think that they're going to have to shoot a lot better than they did from the field, because as hot as they were from downtown, they only shot 39% from the field in game one. And so that is certainly not going to get it done against Arizona. And so they only had 1 block shot as well. They're going to have to block some more shots, I promise you, because Arizona is going to press the interior of their defense. And so next, let's go ahead and jump over to Arizona and the keys to look for there. And so it starts with the Yam Man. I think that Corey Yams is going to have a big one. He had 14 points and he had 12 rebounds. And I think the thing for him, I think it's time that we up the usage rate for him. And so I think that if you just look at a lot of the broadcasts and things like that, I think it's just more. You want to get more to Corey Yams. And so I think that this is the time where Arizona should lean heavily on him, especially when he gave you a double-double in round one. Arizona won 77-66. And so I'm looking forward to seeing this young man. And I think that he's going to have an advantage here. And he's going to be the one that really is going to be the truth teller here about Oregon's defense. Remember, we just talked about that. And so I think he's a much more, I think, intense player than what you're going to see with Jamison Johnson. So I want to see him attack. I think that that's the key there for Arizona. Next, look, this is what scares me about Arizona. They gave up 50 points in the second half, okay? Because the first round, they were playing terrific in the first half, and then next thing you know, they gave up 50 in the second half. That cannot happen, or else Arizona is going home. Next up, they only shot 26% from deep. We just talked about Oregon, how well they shot in the first round. 26% is not going to get it done in this tournament. Traditionally, we're seeing that the teams that are able to knock down the three ball consistently, it keeps them in games. It keeps them on pace. It keeps them on schedule. And really, you're never out of games. And so you cannot afford to go one dimensional. They got to knock down some 3-point shots. And so the next thing for me, too, for Arizona, you got to get some more rebounds. And so 35 rebounds, it's nothing to shy away from or, just kind of go, well, that's not enough. But they need to get some more rebounds, personally, I think, to get past Oregon, because I think that was key in the last game for Oregon. They were able to keep Jamison Johnson and company off the boards for the most part, but I think that is a real advantage for Arizona. And so next, let's go ahead and jump into the bracket for the next game. And our next game up here, we're going to go over here to this next region, which is going to be the Midwest region, if I'm not mistaken. And yes, it is. So Midwest region, we're looking at Michigan State versus Wichita State. And so this game is probably going to be the one where it's not necessarily the most anticipated game, but I think that it's one of the games that if you believe in the underdogs, you're certainly tuning into this one, because a lot of people did not anticipate Wichita State, being here. And I got a chance to watch them just dismantle Georgetown. And I just think that it was tremendous with what they did. But before we jump into them, let's start with Michigan State, where I think a lot of people around the country probably have them as the favorite, and rightfully so. And so with Michigan State, I think that it starts with Jai Edge. I think that Jai Edge, as well as he played in the first game of the tournament, he's going to have to play even better to put away Wichita State. So he had 15 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists in that one. And he was plus 13, which actually led the entire team. And I'm saying that he has to be even better, because Wichita State, they're not going to let you off the hook. And I think to put away Wichita State, you need your star to step up even more. And so expect for him to come out and be aggressive. Next up, look, I think that Malcolm Chamberlain is going to have to step up as well. He's really my X factor. He had 9 points, 9 rebounds. Like to see that young man get to a double-double. I think that helps Michigan State put away a feisty Wichita State team. Next for them, one block shot is not going to be enough here in this next round. I think that, Wichita State is going to press the interior of Michigan State. We're going to talk about why in a moment, but you're going to have to show some more rim resistance in this game if you're going to advance. And then lastly, I have a question about the shooting splits that they had. 54% from the field, 44% from three. Don't know if that's real for Michigan State. Can they carry that type of offense here in round 2? Are they going to be a little tight? Remember, they are the favorite. And then also, lastly, the turnovers. 12 turnovers in round 1, not going to be good enough. That is where Wichita State lives, on getting you into turnovers. And so next, let's look at Wichita State, because there is not a ton of tape on Wichita State. And like I said before, if you believe in the underdogs, then you certainly believe in Wichita State. And so with what they did, I think that the biggest thing that a lot of people are going to be looking at is what they did in the second half, because they scored 38 points in the second half, and they literally scored just 20 in the first half. So the splits were terrific with the way that they took off, winning 58-50. And so I want to see, can they bottle that up, and can they start off well? Because we've seen that they can definitely finish well, and they don't get flustered. And so that's what you love about them. They're playing with house money. I think that has to be a factor today. And then lastly, look, man, you got to give their defense a lot of credit, because Georgetown, they held them to 20 points. Now, I know a lot of that, you look back at that game tape and stuff, and you look at the execution and Georgetown, but Georgetown, as good as they were, that shouldn't have happened. So I have to favor Wichita State in the way that they were able to execute on the defensive end and take away the things that Georgetown really wanted to do. And so the next thing for me with them, I think a key for them is just to force turnovers. And so can Wichita State continue to force the turnovers? They did a great job in round 1 in doing so. Next, for me, the 12 assists for Wichita State, that's going to have to go up when we start to look at points of concern for them. And then when it comes down to another advantage that Wichita State has, and why I would be concerned about Michigan State in their interior defense, Keontae McPherson, 14 points in that game. an absolute load in the paint, and he is tough to stop going to the basket. And so I don't know if Michigan State has an answer for that. In fact, McPherson, he might be one of the better bigs left out there, along with Lamarian Sherwood, with the way that they can attack the paint. And so be looking for him to go to work today. You also have Deontay Mink. I think that he did a terrific job with the rebounds out there. He was only 1 of 13 from the field, but 14 rebounds. I mean, he was their everything. And so this is a game where I couldn't really tell you much about Wichita State because there's just not too much data about them. But I just like if they come out with that type of effort that they had and they just really package it up and put it together evenly for two halves, this could be a scary game here for Michigan State. And so we'll see if this is a trap game for them. So next up, we got the last game of the night, and that's going to be Davidson versus UConn. And so hopping back in here and looking at the brackets as we head over to the West, I believe. So yes, the West region, and we got Davidson versus UConn. And so let's start with Davidson and really the things that they have. And so I think that the first player that you want to watch in this game is going to be Nick Hugo. I think that Nick Hugo is going to have to play well again like he did in round one. He had 19 points, 11 rebounds, wasn't as efficient as you would like. He was 8 of 19 from the field, so he's got to get better there. Next, I think that Deontay Odom, I like what he gave Davison with the 12 points and 12 rebounds. And so can you get another double-double from him? I think that that's certainly going to help. I think the issue that I have with Davison, only 28% from downtown, not going to be good enough against UConn. And I don't like the fact that, they shot 53% from the field. I don't believe that they shoot that here in this next round. And so that's where they got to figure it out. Next, they only got to the free throw line, 11 times. And so got to get some more free throws, I think, against UConn, get them into some foul trouble. I think that is a way that Davison can maybe take advantage of UConn that way. And then, as far as only forcing 8 turnovers, for them to take down UConn, they're going to have to get way more turnovers than 8. And I just wonder, too, did they get lucky in first round play? Because against the University of New Mexico, they only had 4 offensive rebounds. And so I think that you're going to get a UConn team that's going to have a lot more say on the offensive boards. And we've talked about this before. If you can get offensive rebounds, you're going to put yourself in position to win a lot of games because you get extra possessions. And so lastly, when we look at UConn, I think that it starts, just with Dan Hurley. I think that you got to give Dan Hurley a ton of credit because Dan Hurley has the experience. He gets this UConn team ready. And I think that they're battle tested in the Big East. And so that's point number one. I think that they have the coaches advantage with him. So let's see how that plays out. Next, I think that Fareed Redmond is going to have to step up again, 17 points and 4 assists in round one. They got Norman Nations, who gave him 16. They got Boo Boo Morgan, who had 13 as well. So he played extremely well for them. And so you need all 3 of those guys to step up again. And I love the fact that they were not shy taking it. Look, the 12, 14 shot attempts between all of them. Like, I love that. 50% from the field and 61% from 3, though. That is a little scary stat. I'm not sure that they can continue at that high of a level, but we'll see what happens. I think that that's something to watch for. Once they cool down from the field in this next round, can they, find enough baskets to move on? And next, I think that for UConn, they've already shown me that they have better interior play. They got out of round one without it, but they're going to need more than 3 block shots in this game. And they're also going to need to get to the free throw line more than just 7 times against Davidson. I think that is going to be a key in this game. And so anyway, you guys let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking about here in round 2. What is the game that you are looking forward to seeing the most? Make sure that you stay locked in across the network as we have just lots of media coverage about the tournament. We got the 4 games that are taking place today, so make sure that you stay locked in, stay engaged. And look, as we always say here, see the game and be the game. We will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.